What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the vlog. My name is Filip Latocha, and today we are going to be talking about shin splints and how to identify them, how to remediate shin splints, and just more or less some of the things I've encountered from my personal experiences with shin splints in the past, and basically what I've done to ultimately get rid of them and keep them away for good. So this is basically part of a 2-video series where one of my friends asked me a question on Facebook, and I thought it'd be a good idea just to make videos about these particular questions and answers, because I've been asked multiple times by multiple people these particular things, so why not, right? So here we go. So before we actually get into it, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, lots of cool stuff coming up. And if you like these type of videos, please let me know in the comments below. If you've had any sort of encounters with shin splints in the past, definitely let me know in the comments. Definitely towards the end of this video, as you've kind of listened to my analysis on them and my remediation techniques. And let me know if you agree with me or disagree. And yeah, let's just talk about it, you know? So without further ado, let's get into it. So in the previous video, we were talking about breathing techniques, some diet and core recovery techniques, basically revolving around the first part of this question. The second part of the question goes like this. It goes,
Hey Phil.
Also for maintaining long distance speed without aftermath pain. Okay, so he's basically asking, like, after he's done running for a long distance with some speed, he's pretty sore, he's pretty beaten up. Looks like he's got the solid speed down now for the first 3 miles, but then shin splints and pain in certain areas of my leg are killing me from running daily and are increasing my distance. Yeah, let's talk about shin splints, because that is the hot topic of this particular question. So first things first, let's get the disclaimer out of the way. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a running doctor, I'm not like an orthopedic of any sort. I'm just some guy who's had some experiences running in a non-professional environment, who just has some anecdotal evidence from word of mouth or things I've seen on YouTube, and I just basically compiled all this information on my own and just came up to this consensus. So don't use me as a factual medical source for any sort, because that's what I am far from. I'm just, again, just some runner who's gone through these motions of shin splints and all sorts of stuff, and, well, here we are, right? So, okay, that was a pretty bad disclaimer, but you get the point. Anyways, let's get into it. So, shin splints, what are they first and foremost? Basically, it's this soreness or tenderness, basically along your shin bone on the interior side right here. And you typically have pain in this lower area, and sometimes you'll have it in this upper area while you're running, while you're standing, so on and so forth. And basically, it's pretty noticeable. It's like this kind of like dull, not really painful, but more like sore feeling, basically in your shin bone and the tendon that runs along the shin bone itself. Basically, it's just a case of, again, the muscle just not being very strong, whether it be both the calf muscle and that tendon that runs along your shin bone, and sometimes just the development of the bone itself that just needs some time to get into, basically getting into the motion of catching up to your level of running cardiovascularly. So that's the first point we're going to talk about in terms of remediating shin splints ultimately. So first and foremost, shin splints could be a result of your cardiovascular being much stronger than your quick twitch muscle build in your lower body overall. So what I mean by that is, if you're just starting off running and you know you're running daily, your lungs get stronger, your heart gets stronger, you're building your endurance, maybe you're cross training, you're biking, you're swimming, maybe you do some weightlifting, just anything that's involving a lot more cardio and ultimately building your endurance is making you become a better runner, better athlete overall. However, what's happening in this particular instance maybe is that you're not training your leg muscles nearly as much, and what's happening is your bones in your lower body, some of your muscles, some of your tendons are not able to keep up with your cardiovascular improvements. More or less some of the quick twitch muscles and the slow twitch that run across your shin bone, and some of the other areas of your legs are just slowly building to the strength that you need for a daily fun run. Hence the word slow twitch. So that being said, in most cases with runners, like at least 90 to 95% of runners I've met, Shin splints are inevitable, and it's just a minor roadblock that can be existent for anywhere from like 1 to 6 months, depending on your recovery, your remediation, and how you follow the 3 steps I'm talking about. Of course, this first step being your cardiovascular versus your muscular structure, right? So it's just inevitable that it's just a patience game, that maybe you just need to tone down the running just slightly, go a little bit slower during your runs. Don't overdo it to the point where you start seeing swelling and you feel pain in your shins, because the moment you see that, there's a bigger problem than shin splints, and you do not want to get to that point by any means necessary. Avoid that at all costs. So all I'm saying is diligence is good, but take it back a little bit and be a little more patient with running overall, because shin splints in a way shows that you're kind of on the right track, more or less, that you're developing your cardiovascular strength, and your body just needs to start catching up in terms of like your shins, your muscles, bones, all of that, right? And of course, you also develop biomechanically slightly, not differently, but you're going to make slight changes in your body that, again, you need time to do. Like, for example, your shin bones will start bowing just a little bit, and that's, of course, a natural piece of running and preventing shin splint in some instances. Mostly because this is your body's biomechanical response to creating a more flexible structure when you begin running. So the shins start having like this flex, this kind of bounce, maybe like compression, decompression, that's better than if the bone was perfectly straight and aligned, which is ultimately what would be causing some of your shin splint anyways, is this insane shock, this repetitive shock to the bone. So again, you need time to develop the bone strength, to develop the slow twitch muscles a little bit better, and yeah, you would just keep rolling with that. So okay, well, let's not talk too much about one, because I think you guys get the point. Cardio is stronger than your muscle. Point number 2, this is really important in my opinion, especially in, I'm going to say first world countries and some other countries as well. Shoes are extremely important when it comes to dealing with shin splint and remediation. What do I mean by this? So personally speaking, when I started running, I did my first marathon like 6 months into my amateur running career. I ended up getting shin splints shortly after that marathon, and I was running in, I think, like a Saucony Canarva of some sort. I'll put a picture of the shoe here and I'll tell you what model. I think it was like the Canarva 10 or the 11. I don't remember 100%. Anyways, I had no knowledge on shoes. I just thought the shoe looked really awesome, and I said, hey, let's do it. The shoe had an offset of maybe 2 to 4 millimeters. It was like not a whole lot. And basically at the time, I don't think it was right for me to be heel striking in a shoe that neutral. And yeah, that was another big thing, of course, that we're going to get into with shoes is heel striking is a major culprit of shin splints as well. And that could be a result of the shoes. But let's back up just a little bit. So as humans, it's my understanding that we were never meant to be running in shoes anyways. It just ultimately ended up being kind of a luxurious tool that we've gotten used to in this particular society. But ultimately, the human body is built in a way to run without shoes and to naturally have this midfoot strike while we're running. However, because of the development of shoes, with like these fat heels and adding weight to our walking and strides and things like that, ultimately we've developed this heel strike, which as we hit the ground with the heel, in a lot of cases, that shockwave from the heel goes up the shin bone and into like some of the areas of our knees and even into like the ball and the joint of our hips. And that shockwave is ultimately not good for us, and it's a result of obviously these heavy shoes and this heel striking. Now when you start running while heel striking is when some of the problems with the shin bones obviously begin, and that's where kind of shin splints do start beginning first and foremost. So anecdotally speaking, I was running in a pair of Sauconys, and then I had another pair that I was using as like a daily trainer, and I was heel striking them, and it was not a good thing at all. What happened was, at my old job, close to an area of Illinois called Arlington Heights, and if you know the running store I'm talking about, you know, okay? You just, everyone just knows, okay? Okay, so ultimately at this mom and pop shop was the first time I learned about like the different styles of foot strikes while running. And of course I was introduced to this Brooks Adrenaline GTS 16, where they told me, hey, listen, you run in this shoe a couple of times with the heel strike, go a little bit slower while you're running, and then of course gradually start turning your heel strike into a midfoot strike, and you'll start remediating the shin splint issue gradually. So yeah, the Zen Masters were 100% correct. And of course I did slow down my pace at the time to like a 9:30 minute mile. It was like 2015, 2016. I don't recall 100%. And yeah, I ultimately developed a midfoot strike, and my shin splints started actually going away like very quickly. As one of the culprits of my shin splints in the first place were bad shoe choices, because as someone who started off as a runner with no prior shoe knowledge, it was important to recognize some of these things early on into the running career. Now, as you get more experienced, your adaptation and your technique becomes a lot better, and you can start running in other running shoes, different running shoes like every single day, and you're able to recognize what feels good and what doesn't, and then ultimately your body is, for the most part, able to adapt to any shoe you run in. Sometimes some will be a lot less comfortable than others, and of course that's where people have much stronger opinions, I guess, on different shoes. But okay, I digress. That's the point. So that's our second point. Shoes could be also a culprit of your shin splints, and one of the ways you can remediate the entire issue completely, to be completely honest with you. Okay, and then here's point number 3 in terms of something that could be giving you shin splints and a way of remediating shin splints. And that is ultimately your pre and post run recoveries. So that should be kind of self-explanatory that during your running, you are going to be doing a lot of static and dynamic stretches, I hope. Maybe before your runs you're doing some butt kicks, maybe you're doing some knee ups, just basic things to warm up your legs first and foremost. But then it's also important to do some calf stretching workouts, such as having like one of those calf boxes. I'll put a picture of it here. And basically you're just going to have your foot on that calf stretcher. And what you're trying to ultimately do is build the dorsiflexion in the front and in the heel here for your foot, because what you want to do is tears up some of those micro tendons, I guess you can say, in your calf muscle and in the surrounding tendons in your ankle and your shin area, to ultimately stretch the muscle out and allow it to strengthen itself, allow it to get a little more dense. And ultimately, if you have any sort of like compression or any sort of muscle tightness, you're going to remediate that, which will help you in the long run, pun intended, with dealing with shin splints. So stretching the calves is very important when it comes to running, because that is one of the big muscle groups that you do use next to your hips. Of course, it is all in the hips, but we'll talk about that in another video, I suppose. But yes, make sure your calves are definitely always stretched out, and continue stretching them no matter what, because that is one of the ways you will help in remediating things like shin splints, calf soreness, and things like that. So moving on from the stretching pieces, recovery is also extremely important post-run. Because after you're done running, basically performing your high impact sport, you're going to have a lot of compression in places like maybe in your knees, maybe along the bones, ankles, things like that. You name it. You're going to have some kind of compression and some sort of soreness. The point of those post-run stretches involving foam rolling, maybe some static stretches, is to identify any pain points you may have developed in the middle of your run. So maybe you're running and like your knees feel sore or something. So now you can figure out what's going on post-run to see if like maybe you need to ice something, or you just basically need to stretch something out more and more frequently until that pain goes away, because that does happen a lot of the times. Don't confuse soreness for, I suppose, like legitimate pain or something legitimately going on, but at the same time, don't be paranoid that something that's sore involves broken bones, I suppose. But yeah, anyways, that's digressing. The recovery stuff. So with shin splint recovery, ricing is, I would say it works. I wasn't a big ricer type of person. Having ice on your shins could be helpful. Just don't put the ice directly on your skin. Have some kind of like towel or something laying on top of it, because that's the important thing with icing, is you don't want to like damage the nerves or freeze something in your legs, I guess. But yeah, of course, the stretching is good. The compression definitely helped when I had shin splints. So I bought like those calf socks, or those calf sleeves, I think they were called. Yeah, the calf sleeves. And they were very helpful during the runs. You just don't want to get used to running in them. Like, you cannot do a workout without them. Just be wary of them. Like, if you have like sore shins someday and they're just worse than usual, then use the calf sleeves. So of course, elevation is very good, especially after your run. You are more than welcome to be lazy after your run, just for the sake of recovery. Foam rolling every day is very good, especially your lower body area, whether it be calves, quads, glutes, hamstrings. Just go for it, you know, foam roll accordingly, as good practice to identify pain points and break any sort of lactic acid buildups you may have. And yeah, those are my tips, I would say, for recovery to remediate shin splints after that. It's not like there's some miracle recovery cure that's going to get rid of them. Like, it's a slow process, ultimately. Like, you're not gonna foam roll your shin directly. I would not recommend doing that. That would be so painful to do. But again, like, shin splints is like a long roadblock that takes a little while to get over. And ultimately, I think if you follow these 3 steps of, 1, identifying if your cardiovascular is stronger than your muscular structure in your lower body, and then developing those muscles from weight training and stretching and things like that. That's step 1 in remediating shin splints. 2 could be verifying that you have the right shoes for your daily runs. And 3 would be making sure that your pre and post run stretching is up to par and bare bones enough to keep you fresh after your workout, ultimately. So again, these are just my opinions and things that I've done consistently while I had shin splints to eventually remediate the issues I've had with my shin splints early on in my running career. And I think a lot of people, like I said, 90 to 95% of runners, I think, experience the shin splint roadblock at some point in their running careers indefinitely. And yeah, if you are patient, diligent with your recovery, diligent with taking a step back and letting your body figure everything out in terms of developing better to deal with the stresses of running, I think you're ultimately going to have a good time, and you'll eventually get over the shin splints, and you won't even realize that you've basically cleared that hurdle. You'll just get there. There's no like it moment where the shin splints are entirely gone. You'll just realize it one day. You'll be like, oh man, like, I haven't had shin splints, or I haven't been complaining about them for like 3 weeks now, or something like that. I don't know. It could happen, but ultimately, those are my 3 reasons. Again, cardiovascular versus muscular strength. Identify the strengths and weaknesses. Make sure your shoes are good for running to prevent the shin splints. And 3, make sure your pre and post run stretches are up to basically up to par to ensure that you're not causing any high impact issues on your body. So that's all I've got for now. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you've got any tips or you agree with any of the points I made, definitely comment down below. We can discuss further techniques that you guys have used in the past to remediate shin splints. I would love to hear what everyone's got, because there's different camps of thought ultimately that revolve around dealing with types of injuries like shin splint and whatnot. And I'm always curious to see what people have to say. So yeah, with that note, I think we'll end this video here, and I'll talk to you guys real soon. Thanks for watching.